On this episode, what exactly is the Republic of Molossia?
Does the U.S. know about Molossia? Yes, of course they do. They know about everything.
I think for most folks, the idea or inspiration of even beginning their own nation is very outlandish, if you will, right? And
I had the pleasure of visiting the Nevada test site, which is very close to Area 51.
Raise your glass to mysteries, cocktails and conspiracies. Dive into these histories, cocktails and conspiracies. Raise your glass to mysteries, cocktails and conspiracies. Uncover those anomalies, cocktails and conspiracies.
What if I told you there's a sovereign nation, complete with its own currency, laws, customs, and even a space program, tucked away in the Nevada desert? And what if I told you it wasn't a fantasy, a protest, or a publicity stunt, but a living, breathing example of what it means to carve out your own identity in a world full of red tape and rigid systems? Tonight, we are honored to welcome His Excellency, President Kevin Baugh, the founder and leader of the Republic of Molossia, a micronation that's as real as it is imaginative and a testament to one man's vision of what sovereignty can look like when it's guided by purpose, humor, and heart. For more than 4 decades, President Baugh has cultivated not just a place, but an idea that nations can be built on principles, passions, and pride, regardless of size or global recognitions. Tonight, we invite you to suspend your disbelief not in the name of fantasy, but in the spirit of possibility, because the world is full of invisible lines and assumed rules, and sometimes the most powerful act of rebellion is creating a new map. My name is Shane Squarrick, here with our curator of curiosities, Mr. Phillips, and we're excited to formally roll out the red carpet to His Excellency, President Kevin Baugh.
Hello.
Welcome to Cocktails and Conspiracies. Great to have you here.
You know what? That was the most fantastic intro. Can you send that to me? That means you took the words right out of my mouth. It was amazing.
Well, I appreciate that compliment. That's probably the most structured we're going to be for the rest of this interview, because everything else goes off the cuff. So it's all downhill from here, as they say, which should make it easier.
Oh, that's fantastic.
For those unfamiliar with you or Molossia, who is President Kevin Baugh, and what exactly is the Republic of Molossia?
Well, as you referred to, I am the founder, ruler, creator, and dictator of the Republic of Molossia, which is our own sovereign nation that we founded back in 1977. So it's quite a while ago. Back then, it was called the Grand Republic of Voldstein. My friend James was the king, and I was the prime minister. That's right. We were a republic with a king. But, what do you know when you're 15? Anyway, but when we had seen the old Peter Sellers movie. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's called The Mouse That Roared. And it's fantastic. It's from 1960, so it's a bit aged now. But anyway, basically a tiny country that invades the United States, planning on losing the war, because good stuff happens when you lose a war with the U.S. They come in and fix up your country and stuff and all that. But in fact, they capture the world's smallest but most powerful atomic bomb and suddenly become the most powerful nation on Earth. And we were really struck by the imagination and creativity of that idea, so we decided to start our own country. And we've been going strong ever since. In 1998, we obtained property here within northern Nevada and changed the name to the Republic of Molossia. Same country, different name. And we've been doing our thing here in this spot ever since.
Incredible. So what inspired you to actually go forward with this and found an actual country? Is it just this idea of this old film and kind of living out this dream?
Well, the film was kind of like the spark, if you will. But really the idea is a continual exploration of what makes a country and what all goes into it. And of course, with a decent amount of imagination and creativity injected on the side. And we explore that that idea, that question of what makes a country pretty much every single day. And we've done pretty well with it. Countries are kind of complicated things, kind of like Shrek's onion, lots of layers. And we're constantly peeling away those layers to see what we can do next, or maybe revisiting things we've been doing, maybe make them better.
So now I got to ask, you mentioned that you originally started, it was Voldstein, if I'm
Yeah,
saying that
Goldstein.
correctly,
Yeah,
with your friend who was King James.
yes.
How does this divide happen, and what happens to James?
James wasn't really that much into it. He's more of an airplane guy. That was his hobby. And so, but best friends, you kind of like, yeah, we'll do that thing. Sure, absolutely. But he just sort of went on his own way. I honestly haven't seen James pretty much since then. We went to different schools after a while, but we were in the Gulf War together, but not together. That kind of thing. So it's like ships in the night kind of deal. And I understand, last I heard, that he met a young lady moving to Mexico, and down there. I don't know. It's been many years now, so he could still be there, but he doesn't really have a active claim on our country, and that's all right. I mean, but if he shows back up, that'd be cool too.
Welcome with warm arms, right?
Yes, oh, of course, absolutely. James was awesome.
Incredible. So how is this even allowed to exist legally within the United States? I guess that's kind of been the lingering question. I think
Sure.
my introduction really was maybe through like a viral video that was like circulating around the internet at one point. And I'm fascinated by the idea that you see in a lot of these different documentaries. And Tim and I have talked about this quite a bit, is like there's so many rules and restrictions in everyday life in the United States. Like, you own your land, but you don't really own it. You're paying taxes. And
Sure.
you can't, like, I have a well in my backyard that runs water to my house that I maintain. But at one point, that used to be all the water. Now it can only be my outdoor water. You have to have city water, and you have to have an electrical hookup because we're not allowed to put solar on. So it's like there's always these grand visions of going to other areas, kind of starting your own homestead and living on your own, but you're always surrounded, or I guess grounded, by the governing body of whatever state you're in, or globally, or I guess nationwide, the United States. How do you, I don't want to say circumvent this, but how do you allow this to adapt with Molossia?
Well, first thing, I guess probably the biggest question is: does the U.S. know about Molossia? Yes, of course they do. They know about everything. That's but what they do with it? Well, they've done nothing because we've been around for 48 years and they haven't come storming up the driveway yet. But you never know. Tomorrow's another day. Uh, let's certainly hope not. Uh, but they don't really care because we don't pose a threat. There are some definite realities in life. One of those realities, especially in the United States, is you keep throwing money at the federal government, and they'll be happy and they'll pretty much leave you alone. Now, if you go over and start, I don't know, running drugs out of your house or something like that, whatever, that's going to probably stop your show pretty quick. But short of that, we have a huge advantage that Molossia is kind of out in the middle of the desert. We're fairly remote here, and Molossia lies within Story County, Nevada, pretty much an independent free, you know, an independent streak kind of place. I can't speak English suddenly. That where people kind of just do their own thing, and that's really been a big benefit. We don't have an HOA, or we don't live in a subdivision. Thank goodness, that'd be horrible. But and so we don't really have them. We are, in fact, like yourself, on a well, but we don't have any restrictions whatsoever because pretty much everybody's on a well out here. Of course, if we weren't, we'd die of thirst. So anyway, but we don't have access to city water and so forth, and we don't need it. And so we're sort of, I wouldn't say even close to some of the, I guess, sovereignty movements like what were the guys, the Freemen up in Montana and so forth like that. I mean, yeah, those guys, they were like next level, definitely, pushing it back in the face of the government and that kind of thing. And we're not really at that level, but we do have a lot of that kind of sovereignty. Like I said, we have our own water. We have a solar power system that runs the lights in Red Square, which is kind of our town square, if you will. And we're constantly looking at ways to make ourselves as independent as we can within reality. Now, going back to the taxes thing, that's a question that comes up all the time. We actually do pay taxes to the United States, but we call them foreign aid. We give the U.S. foreign aid every year. I mean, you've seen the roads; they need all the help they can get. So, we're there for them to help out. And that foreign aid, kind of keeps them from, again, rolling up the driveway and saying you can't do this anymore.
That was going to be my well, part of my question was going to be, what is the relationship like with the United States in terms of, it Molossia resides within the state of Nevada, so do you have to follow the laws and rules and regulations of the state of Nevada and as well as the United States, or kind of what's that relationship like?
The U.S., like I said, I'm pretty sure they're aware of us existing, but they don't care. They look at us like maybe like an art project or free speech or something along that line, because again, we don't pose any kind of threat. Nevada's very aware that we exist, and they love it because it's like a tourism thing. People come from all over the world to visit Molossia, and here in the valley that Molossia is in is called Dayton Valley, and no slight on Dayton Valley, but there's not much going on here pretty much except for Molossia, and the big grocery store. But anyway, they got that. They got one of those. So anyway, and then within Story County, they barely know we exist. The big town in Story County is Virginia City, kind of a tourist town, and Virginia City knows all about Virginia City and not much about the rest of the world. So, if you go up there and they're like, hey, you're like, hey, what's the directions to get to the Republic of Molossia? They're like, what? Who? Absolutely. But if you ask around Dayton, I mean, in the valley that we're in right here, or the Nevada tourism guys, they'll send you right to us.
That's wild. And you mentioned at the top too that you participate in the Nevada Day Parade.
Yes. Uh-huh.
So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
they obviously really embrace you and enjoy that.
But let me stop you right here. Yes, we are Molossian, but it's pronounced Nevada.
Nevada.
Nevada. Yes, not Nevada. Say it with me, Nevada.
Uh,
Yeah.
See,
That'll get you
we're
right
I was
out.
going to say,
East
it
Coast
must be an
guys.
East Coast
We
thing.
say things fast with the accent.
Yes, an East Coast thing. They'll tar and feather you, run you out of the state. You say it wrong.
Well, that's how they identify who we are. Where we're
Yes,
from.
correct.
It's always the little.
Well, if you
We
go down to
change
Las
words all the
Vegas,
time.
Las Vegas doesn't know that they're in Nevada, so they don't care how you say it. They're not really aware. But the rest of the state. But anyway, yeah. So yes, we're in the Nevada Day Parade every year. That's the celebration of Nevada's statehood. It's quite the little fandango, about 200 floats and so forth, and all the dignitaries, the governors, and the senators and congressfolk and all that are in the parade, as well as myself and the first lady every year in the parade. It's a lot of fun. It really, really is, and it's also a way of sort of getting the word out there, if you like, that Molossia exists.
Incredible. What is the people of Molossia really made up of it? Is it largely your family? Are there other people that have tried to kind of emigrate in and kind of settle in, like because they got captivated by maybe a quick tour?
Well, maybe not that far. Very captivated by our existence. Yes, Molossia's citizenship is 100% family and our one dog. Our dog is a citizen.
Who may make an appearance?
So, well, dogs, they're always on your side. So, I mean, and that's important in a dictatorship. You need all the allies you can get. But anyway, yes. So, but we do have a lot of folks, especially from the Middle East, that really would like to come here and live in Molossia. It's a big thing. On the regular, we have at least once or twice a day, I'll get an inquiry from somewhere far away, folks that want to come live here in our nation. Of course, that's not possible, setting aside the fact that we have our own rules about you need to be a family member to be a citizen, but also we're just too small to have immigrants coming in. It's 1.3 acres. You can't really jam too much into that before you're cheek and jowl. So yeah, but yeah, we're really popular with some folks. They really want to come live here. That's a no.
Any
Sorry.
any reason why you think it's a lot of folks from the Middle East? Do they specify? Do you see like common denominators as to why they want to come, or I just find that curious and interesting.
I yeah, I find it interesting as well, and I think the only thing that I can really put together on it is that we have an awesome website, and our website really makes it look like we are an established nation that you can come immigrate to. And even though on our website, literally, there's a whole visiting and citizenship page that really says no, you can't. But I also think there might be some linguistic things there where they're not really. I mean, there might be some nuances on the website that I don't that you and I would get, you know. But maybe if English is not your first language, you'd be like, well, yeah, we can go live there. Sure, absolutely. Plus, seeing any pictures, it's kind of deserty. Maybe, it reminds them of home. I don't know. Whatever. I mean, I appreciate the thought, and if it is in fact a cool website that's luring them in, then that makes me feel good too because I made that website.
Hey,
Did
you
you
got something
really?
in common with
Yeah,
our
oh,
host here.
Yeah, yeah, it's my business there. Yeah. No, that's incredible. You're wearing a lot of hats over there, no pun intended. Jumping around as a web
mostly just
designer,
yeah.
president. They those little, like, what are they? Tiny homes are getting really popular now. So,
Mhm.
maybe that 1.25 acres, you could really start to squeeze a lot in there if you decided to start to expand.
I actually had thought about that, especially because most of our Molossian citizens don't live in Molossia. They live outside the country over the border in the U.S. And I thought about establishing a tiny home or a finished, inside insulated or whatever shed in the yard, in over there on the side of Government House, kind of as an emergency sanctuary, just in case some things go down. The U.S. is kind of a weird place, and you never know what might happen over there. And so, I thought about that, but I mean, it's not really in our national budget right now. We have more fun things that we want to build and create. So, but not for
Well,
folks
that
that live
might be like a good
beyond our citizenry.
For sure. That might be like a good thing for anybody watching out there too. If, maybe we get a big tourism budget, we kind of start traveling there a little bit. We can maybe get an Airbnb going on there and have a tiny home. You can spend the night there, spend a little extra. We can kind of boost the economy there.
I
Just
thought
throwing
about
that
that.
out there if people want that.
I brought it up to the first lady, and I said, "Well, maybe we should set something up. Maybe even just like a camping area. You can come and you can camp
Yeah,
there
that's interesting. Yeah.
and so forth." And she's like, "Yes, well, but the problem is they would need to come in the house and use the bathroom in the middle of the
Yep.
night. That's going to be
Yeah. Yeah.
unnerving to everyone. So we're not going to do
Valid
that.
point.
No, all right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I might
There's
run the
always
country.
logistics.
She's got a lot of sway. So she said, no, that's a no.
Totally respect that.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'd be remiss if we didn't bring up kind of the I guess the big elephant in the room. We cover a lot of things across like the conspiracy realm, and kind of based on your positioning, you're by maybe the most prolific conspiracy of all time in Area 51.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm not suggesting that you've been there or you know what's going on there, but has there been any sightings or anything out of the ordinary that's maybe passed along the
You know,
skies of
I have to
Molossia?
honestly say I've never seen anything. Now Area 51 is about gosh, what would that be? About 3 or 4 hours south of here. And
Oh wow, okay.
I've been by there once or twice, and then in that general area many times, but specifically by there a couple of times. And I had the pleasure of visiting the Nevada test site, which is very close to Area 51, like their is where they let off atomic bombs many times back in the 80s and so forth. But besides giant holes in the ground, I really didn't see. I didn't see anything weird. I mean, there's a lot of weird in Nevada. It's kind of the cool thing about the state, and also probably one of the reasons that Molossia thrives. There's a lot of weird here. So, but nope, I never saw anything. The only time I ever saw a UFO was flying over Magic Mountain Amusement Park back in the 1970s. It's Six Flags now, I think, and that was the only.
Really?
Yeah, it was like these three balls that were flying, and they were the same shape. They weren't moving around, so they weren't like balloons, and they just sort of went slowly across the sky. And I'm like, anybody else see that? Oh, it's gone. All right, well, never mind.
Wow.
Yeah,
All
Yeah, it's still
right.
cool.
I was throwing that out there more in jest, but that's pretty cool to kind of walk away with that.
yeah, it was
I'm
cool.
yeah,
Laying there on the bed, looking up, like, whoa, that's
I'm
different.
jealous. I've always wanted to see something, and I'm certainly I don't know if I call myself a sky watcher, but anytime I walk outside, especially at night, I always make sure to glance up at the sky and just take a look, and especially on a clear night, I'm in awe. And we're in New Jersey, right, the most densely populated state in the United States, so we really can't see the skies that greatly. I'm sure you can see it much nicer, where you are, but yeah, I'm jealous. That's cool. That's a cool story.
Oh, yeah, our skies are phenomenally clear here. They really are, and we don't have a lot of light. What's the phrase? Light pollution. We don't have a lot of light pollution or anything where we are. So when nighttime rolls around, I mean, there's a street light over there. That's annoying. But besides that, I mean, we only have like 3 streetlights in the entire neighborhood, but and it has to be right there. But besides that, yes, you can see the stars. Absolutely phenomenal. It's a good place to get a telescope and look at the planets, that kind of thing. But I've not actually seen anything too weird around here. Not up in the sky, just other Nevadans. you know,
Probably weird enough for us sometimes,
yeah.
especially with all the tourism that comes through, I'm sure.
Oh yes, yeah. You see all kinds.
So, you mentioned that generally the US really doesn't bother you. As long as you're not doing anything, they really don't care. Has there ever been any sort of a conflict, whether it's state, local, federal, that maybe just somebody's kind of got annoyed at something was going on, or has it kind of been, clean the whole way through?
The closest that we had uh, was when we visited the White House. We didn't actually have the tickets to go inside, so we were just. This was back when there wasn't a gigantic, humongous fence around the entire White House and a whole block around it and everything. So you could pretty much get to that backside that you always see the reporters reporting from. You could see that through the fence easily. And we were walking along, checking it out, and here comes the Secret Service, like right away. Okay, and not the A team, the guys in the suits. This is the B team. They still have the little thing hanging out of their ear, but they're riding bicycles. Okay, hard to take that seriously. But anyway, and they really start giving me a hard time. Why are you here? What are you doing? What's going on? And I told them I tried to stay in character. I hate to use that phrase, but you get the idea. Stay in character as long as I could. And I told them I'm the president of my own country, and I'm here to see the house of your president. Now, when I was just back in President Obama's time, he wasn't even there. He was in Spain, so there was really no danger. Although Spain would have been cool to be in too. But anyway, and and it took a while. Then I had to finally break character and bust out my U.S. driver's license. That's boring, but and there it is. And then they finally calmed down. And I mean, 20 feet away, you've got a guy over there yelling at the top of his lungs and attempting to sing or whatever that was. And this is the guy you want to give a hard time to. And then there's the homeless lady across the way here who's been living in that spot. She died now, but anyway, living in that spot for like 30 years. But look at me. I'm well dressed. Do I look like a threat?
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, seriously, right?
I think because we had a camera guy with us, and he was basically documenting our visit to Washington D.C. and maybe that caught their attention. I don't know what. They finally went away, but that was the closest we've ever had. I'm like, seriously, you guys have missiles on the roof, and you're worried about me?
Right.
Guy walking up to the front door. Yeah, exactly.
That was
And I'm on the outside of the fence too, not even in like the danger zone. You have to be climbing
Right.
over. I might have ripped my pants.
that was going to be my follow-up question. Did they do you think that they came and questioned you because they knew that you had prior, or I should say that preemptively they knew that you had plans to go there, or they just happened to see you were in that attire, you had a cameraman with you, and
Yeah.
they were like, hey, who's this guy, what the hell's going on?
Yeah. That's exactly it. Yes.
Got
Yeah.
it.
There was no prior plan. We were just wandering around the city. We didn't even have tickets to go inside or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, yeah, it was strange, but anyway. But on the plus side, about 2 years later, we got a Christmas card from the Obamas. So
Are you
way.
kidding?
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
really did. Yeah. Yeah. We sent.
Was
I
it
mean,
like
as a world leader, we send Christmas cards out every year to whoever might be sitting in the White House, and then also whoever's sitting in the governor's mansion here
that's cool?
in Nevada. And so far, no one's ever answered back except President Obama. And here's the interesting thing, though. Okay, we also send stuff out as is appropriate. Say, for example, congratulations on your wedding, Prince so and so to Princess so and so, or whatever. And we get cards back all the time. But they always come back addressed directly to me. Okay, I mean Kevin Baugh without the president part, just as a regular person, because they don't want to start up
Sure.
a thing, right?
Right.
Yeah, but the one from President Obama came right to President Baugh.
That's
No
neat.
kidding.
Whoever was running their mail machine didn't catch on that kind of gave us recognition by the United States right there.
Right.
That's
Right. Is that framed up on a wall somewhere?
Absolutely. Oh yes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, because
That's
I mention
really
it
cool.
often. I mention it often, and when we have folks come visit that do interviews or and so forth, doing a little piece on Molossia, and I'll mention that Christmas card thing, and so I have to, instead of digging it out of the archives of the Ministry of the Closet, I have to have it handy. There.
That's cool.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, that is really cool. Where's the name from? I've been trying to figure that out ever since I came across the website. I don't think I caught it on the website unless I just didn't dig deep enough.
It's
How
in
do
the
you
fact
come up with the name?
thing. It's in the FAQ, the fact somewhere, I think. But at any rate,
Oh, okay.
that there's a long and storied story behind that, but we're not going to really go into that because it's a long story. So we're just going to go with the current story is that the name Molossia is a corruption or adaptation of the word Maluhia, which in Hawaiian means peace and harmony.
Oh, no kidding. I like
Yeah,
that.
that is the story of our name. We're big
So
fans of
that's a really good segue then to kind of what I wanted to ask you too, like zooming out. I love your perspective on sovereignty and sort of the big picture. We live in a world where big countries are interdependent, and I think some people even talk about shadow governments and global powers, new world orders, and how they influence nations. So, by creating Malaysia, do you feel like you've achieved some degree of freedom that maybe larger nations or ordinary citizens lack, or is it more just symbolic? Is because I would imagine to some degree. I mean, you just mentioned it with the Middle East too. Like, there's a level of inspiration, I think, in there, or maybe even escapism for some people.
I don't I don't think so. I mean, we have our okay. Well, let's back up for just a second. Um, I
Yeah.
mean, we like to laugh and have a good time in Molossia, and that sometimes belies the fact that we really take our nation very seriously. We've worked hard to build this country and to make it as sovereign as we can on 1.3 acres. I mean, there are limits to what we can do, but we still try every single day. But I think it gives us a certain perspective too. I'm not sure. About necessarily about shadow governments and so forth like that. I honestly think that whoever's controlling whatever they're controlling is really money. That's the bottom line, especially in a heavily capitalistic society such as America. Money really runs everything. If you ain't got the money, then you don't have any kind of pull, and that's that's just the reality of life. And by the way, we ain't got the money, so we ain't got no pull. But but anyway, but if you want to give us some, anyway, uh,
That's
so
it. We're
I
pushing the
think
tourism here.
yeah, I think it gives us like an outside look too, at how other governments other governments function, and how their wheels turn and so forth like that. Because you don't have to look too hard to figure out what's going on and how things are working. For example, in Washington or wherever, it's not that hidden. I mean, it really isn't. If you can find it, it's not that hidden. It's easy to find. So, but I mean, I think that gives us a perspective too, because we are able to be more aware because we are in that mode of having our own nation and we know how nations work and so forth. That's kind of the, I guess, basis for for the hobby for having one's own nation. It's the micronation 101. Know how a nation works. That kind of thing. And I think a lot of folks aren't aware because they don't know how countries work. They don't know how a nation works. Sometimes they don't even know how their own government works, which is a shame. That's not good. But I mean, that's just people get busy in their little lives and they're not aware. As long as they got their bread and circuses, they're okay. you know, Let it be what it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah, I
So
think
I don't
ignorance
know if that really answers
sometimes.
your question, but that's what I got.
No, no, it does. It does. And it kind of brings up a couple other great points too. Ignorance is sometimes bliss sometimes, right, with
No,
government.
yeah,
And I found as we've gotten older, you always heard as a kid, oh, don't talk about politics at dinner and stuff like that. And that never crossed my mind. Like, who the heck talks about that? But as we've got older and started having families ourselves, and even went down this like journey of the podcast, the whole point of us doing this was we were trying to look at like fun things in the conspiracy realm and as a realistic perspective. And so in doing that, of course, there's a lot of crossover with government politics and stuff. And you start to realize sometimes what you said. One, people don't really know what's going on or like how things actually work. And sometimes a lot of disdain or disgust or hatred that whether it's towards a specific political party or a government or peoples or a something is just a misunderstanding. Like, well, that person doesn't control anything, and you're you're tweeting about it, and oh my gosh, like this guy stinks, whatever. So it's really fascinating. So I think maybe indirectly you're kind of making that message out there that this can be fun and it can be insightful at sort of the same time. Um,
Oh, absolutely. We have, not to interrupt you. We have, because we've been around for a really long time. We uh, not often, are sometimes we're called upon to, I guess, mentor government classes in like and middle school and so forth like that. And in fact, we're in the process of one right now. This fellow's going to start, I think, in the new school year. He's going to start with it. He's going to have his students start their own country, individual countries or group countries, something like that. However you do things in school. But we're going to weigh in on that. We're going to be jump in and be like, okay, well, okay, cool. You got your country. What's going on with it? I mean, it's more than just a flag. There's stuff that goes on. Like I said before, lots of layers that goes on in your country. What are you doing with it? Where are you going to take it? Where are you going to go with it? That kind of thing. And it's actually gotten to the point, um, you know, by doing that, a couple of more than one instance I can think of that where young people have grown out of micronationalism, if you will, and gone into their own, like running for office in their established nation or their community, town, county, whatever it is, that kind of thing. And and because they started out with that micronation thing, now they understand how politics works and what you can do as a political leader. You can do good things, sometimes not good things. We hope for option one, but anyway, so it's cool to have that kind of influence on young folks that they can take this micronation thing and then run with it in the real world. I don't want to use that phrase. We're plenty real. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah.
Right. No, but I mean, it's a good point, though, right? I think for most folks, the idea or inspiration of even beginning their own nation is very outlandish, if you will, right? And probably not a reality. But to your point, it's, if nothing else, and what I find very unique and really cool about what you have done and what you guys are continuing to do there is just the influence and I guess what's the right word? We'll stick with influence. For those,
Yeah, influence is good.
for those of us who are just kind of sick and tired of the way things are, right? And so it to me, it doesn't mean that hey, you have to go out and start your own micronation, but push back, right? Like if you're unhappy with the
Sure.
rules and regulations and the red tape and the politics and wherever it may be from a local, state, federal perspective, push back, have a voice, become
Yeah.
involved, know what's
Yeah.
going on, and be part of the decision making process.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I think that we've had, I know we've had a little bit of influence. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but a little bit of influence on folks, and hopefully positive influence to go out there and do good things, for their country. I mean, not, I mean, government exists for people. I mean, to
It
make
should.
the citizens' world better. That's really the point of it, and I think some of these folks have, well. Okay, I was going to wander off into that, but there's a lot of folks in government that don't know
Right.
that and don't
Trust me,
believe
we
it.
agree.
But anyway, yeah. But setting those guys aside, I hope that we've had a positive enough influence on folks to understand how their government works and what's supposed to be going on to make their whatever their town, county, state, whatever a better place. And I think it's an advantage that we've had by being a fairly, decent. Yes, I'm a dictator, but I'm not the kind of dictator. Kind of decent, kind of miniature government that they can draw from is kind of like inspiration, and that makes me proud. I know that's happened, and it makes me very proud.
That's really cool. That's incredible to hear, honestly. And to both of your points, your local government, really, right? Like your town or small community, like that could be your own micronation. You're still governed by the laws of the United States. But Tim, what you were saying is go out there and push back. You can make your difference right there.
You can make it
if
better.
you don't
You really
have
can
the
make it
land.
better. Absolutely.
Right, right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's not a message I expected to come out of this conversation with. That's awesome. That's incredible.
well, you
Who
mentioned
knew? Who knew
earlier.
we'd be so inspirational?
Well, you never know where conversations might go. But this is a different kind of interview, trust me. But you mentioned earlier, there's red tape, and that you have to use city water for drinking, and your own well water for watering, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, really, what is the point of these kind of regulations? You have to really take a look at this. Does this really help the average citizen? Does it make the average citizen's life that much better, or is this just sort of some sort of, I don't know, bureaucratic thing, or maybe even a money grab? We can make money off of you by passing this rule, and now you got to pay a water bill, and probably the water that you're drinking is coming from a city well, which is the same water that is coming from your house well, your home well. So now you're paying basically for your own water, and that's not good citizen care.
Yeah.
That's
Exactly what it is. Yep. Yep.
you know,
Always a dollar to be made.
yes, there is indeed.
We've talked
Yes.
about that a lot, right, Shane? I mean, obviously this is more of a political type of conversation, but in any kind of entity, right, whether it be political or an NGO, it's still political in a sense of it's an organization. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, right? And a lot of the bad actors, and unfortunately, there are a lot of bad actors. What are they motivated by? They want to line their own pockets. They want power. And so, yeah, I mean, look at federal income tax, right? Why was federal income tax created? I think it was to fund the war, and it was originally like 1, maybe 2%. I'm not. Everybody out there watching on YouTube, don't quote me. I'm not a very smart person, but it was like 1-2%, and it was supposed to be just during the war, and that never ended. And now we're paying a lot more than that, right? So yeah, most of it's a money grab, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's really rare for governments to pass a rule and then unpass it later. That's almost unheard
Right.
of. It doesn't. In fact, we make a joke about that because when people come visit Molossia, we read off some of our laws, and and these are laws that we've created for ourselves. For example, you have to have your elephant on a leash in Red Square, and and let's see what else. There's a whole bunch of them. I'm just drawing a blank right this second, but all of these weird laws that we've passed. So when people come visit, sunshine's guaranteed to the masses. My favorite: you cannot let off a nuclear device in Molossia, or you're going to get a 500 Valora fine. Okay, that's actually taken directly from the government of the town of Salinas, California. You cannot let off a nuclear device, or you're going to get a big fine. It's an atomic bomb. Who's going to be
Yeah.
what? Why is
That's
that
amazing.
one? Who thought that was a great law? I mean, it makes no sense.
Right.
I mean, I don't know who's going to be left. Okay, all you radioactive people, you need to pony up because
Oh
you
my
broke the law.
gosh.
And I mean, and why is it still in the books?
Yeah.
I mean, they passed a law down. There's a law down in Alabama. You can't carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket.
Stop it.
Facts, absolutely. The reason it was passed. I'm told. I don't know. We're way off the thing. I'm told
No, this is great.
because horse thieves would carry an ice cream cone in their back pocket because it would lure horses, and that you can lure a horse away, and and that would be, why is that still in the books? Are people really? Are they still? I mean, go through your laws and take a look. Is this helping the people? Does it make any sense? Who is walking down the street with an ice cream cone in their pocket? Is that Rocky Road? Or you're just glad to see me? I mean,
And I tell you what, if you're walking down the street with an ice cream cone in your back pocket, I think that A, nothing's gonna help you, and B,
no,
the melting of the ice cream on your ass, that's punishment enough. So
absolutely. In Alabama, of all that place is hot.
right,
Right.
we're not talking about Maine in the
my
wintertime.
goodness.
No, not at all. And I mean, I don't think there's a
Man.
lot of horse thieves around anymore. I mean, so
I'd like to think not, but you never know. People do steal some crazy stuff sometimes.
they do indeed. Well, if they need to come, they can come here. We have a lot of wild horses, and they can steal some of those, but they can stop eating the corn out of the garden. But anyway,
Your next batch of visitors are going to have ice cream cones in the back of their pockets. They're going to be walking
tell you.
around.
make it chocolate chip cookie dough flavor. We're okay, I guess. But no, that's actually that does happen. So, okay, we're changing topics for a second here. So, Molossia's money is called the Valora, and it is not based on gold or silver or platinum, but it's something much more valuable: chocolate chip cookie dough.
All right, baby.
Right, we are cookie dough standard here in the Republic of Molossia, or as the First Lady likes to say, we're rolling in the dough. not. But anyway, we do have a lot of folks that come visit Molossia, and they will bring a tube of chocolate chip cookie dough with them, and we'll swap it out for our currency. That's, I mean, you brought it, we'll take it. The problem is that we often find out that they're doing this. They pull it out of their back pocket about midway through the tour of the country in July. so, so it's 90 degrees and it's been in your pocket for an hour. Yeah, here you go. Here's your 5 Valora, and
It's
first lady, can you throw this away?
not much left in that cookie dough ice cream.
No.
Oh gosh, I like the sentiment though. That's fun. That's fun. And
Yeah.
listen, I mean, if your currency's backed off it, you must have a vault of the chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream somewhere. So,
Well, not the ice cream, just regular cookie dough itself. The
oh,
actual
just
heat.
regular cookie dough. Oh wow, okay.
We have it ice cream on occasion. It's one of my favorites. But we actually had at one point. I don't know if you saw the video, but the guys from Yes Theory came and visited Molossia. Ah, gosh, what was that? 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess. I don't know when it was. Like it's like probably life before COVID type thing. But anyway, they and they brought a cooler, like a giant cooler from Walmart, filled with chocolate chip cookie dough. I think there were 40 tubes of cookie dough in there. They come rolling up the driveway with it. Fortunately, they let us know at the beginning of the tour, not later on. But anyway, but yeah, and we actually ended up donating that to the like a local preschool here in Dayton Valley over the border in the U.S. because what are we gonna do with all that except get diabetes? So I mean, that's a bit over the top. but yeah, we do have a small repository of cookie dough.
Okay, no
Absolutely,
more delicious way to get diabetes in my mind, my friend. I love cookie dough. It's a great
yeah,
idea. You know,
fantastic.
you mentioned something that I was thinking about earlier, and I don't really like to even use the word because YouTube already hates us as is. But that thing that occurred in 2020, that C word,
Hmm.
what was it like in Molossia?
Every single one of us got COVID, but we got COVID light. so so I mean, it's like we didn't get to the point where you can't taste anything or smell anything or anything like that. More like a sniffle. Um, we do 7 tours a year of our country, once a month, April through October, because it's the warmer months, and so it's better weather and everything. And we had to cancel the April 2020 tour, and that was the extent of the impact.
Oh
That was it. So we
yeah, that's
are,
not bad at all.
and again, I think that might be helpful that we live where we live and we don't have a lot of. I mean, I don't want to give you the impression we're down some dirt road in the middle of the mountains, far, far away. I mean, literally, there's
Yeah.
a town there, but but we are remote enough that we don't have folks coming and going. But even then, we had 2 tours on May, June, July, August, etc., and some folks wore masks, and we only got the big C a couple of times and very lightly. So
Wow,
yeah,
that's
I
great.
was expecting something more dramatic, but all right.
Yeah.
Boy,
Tim, I don't know if you're trying to say something there, but your
yeah,
body's moving or you might be on mute.
you're on.
Yeah, I hit that little red button. What I was
Okay,
saying, thank you very much,
sure.
was when all of that was occurring, did you require folks that were visiting to mask and to maintain social distancing and things of that nature, or were you
We made
more
that
free? You made
optional.
it optional.
We,
Okay.
we, yeah, if they want to wear masks, they can wear masks, and if they want a social distance, I mean, our tours average about, I'd say, about 30 people every time coming through. It's been all the way
Wow,
up.
that's a good number.
Yeah, oh yeah. When it gets up to 40 and start, it's pretty much too many because it's a small country. But about 30 people, and they can social distance themselves. I mean, a lot of times folks will show up, but they'll bring the family, that kind of thing. You got the wife and the kids and everything showing up to see what Molossia is all about, and they handled it just fine. And it's not. It was a much lower impact than the couple of heat injuries we've had when people
Oh, I
visit
bet.
Molossia. And the one lady literally fell off the edge of Red Square and knocked over our was that a visiting book. It's on a stand. The whole thing went. That
Oh,
was a
jeez.
rougher day than the COVID thing. But,
Jeez.
yeah, low impact. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess the desert's probably a little unforgiving, especially certain times of years. That's for sure.
yeah. Not honestly that hot here, but it is so dry that it
Right.
makes them seem like, I don't know. It's like sucks the moisture out of you, kind of. because honestly, 90 degrees doesn't sound like it's hot, obviously, but it's not like, Las Vegas 120 or something like that. We really don't get much past 90, but it's enough that it slays some people when they come visit. That wasn't the only heat injury we've had. So we tried to put up some shade and so forth for visitors, and that's been an interesting evolution because we didn't have visitors prior to 2009. There really wasn't anything to see, and then I started developing Molossia in more outward facing, if you will. So we have, I don't know, we have our own post office. We have my office, the office of the president. We have our own bar and grill and so forth like that, bank and everything. Kind of developing it so there's like the actual entities that you would see in a nation, a
Yeah.
bank, a post office, have a physical location. And along with that, the first thing we built was our customs office, our custom shack, and then people start coming, and now it's to the point that our tours fill up because we don't want to go past 40, otherwise it gets unmanageable, and because it's just myself and the first lady now, we taking folks through the country, and so we have to kind of put a cap on it and say no, we can't, especially when you get like the big car club from down the road,
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I'm sure.
yeah, they come rolling up with like 30 people. I'm like, well, that's one tour.
Yeah.
Now, how are you staffing? Post office and bank, probably limited hours, but you said you had a bar and grill there too. I imagine that's pretty popular when you're running a tour. Are you staffing that yourself, or do you bring outside help in, extra family?
Actually, no, they don't really function like that. They're more evently. That's not a real word, but I made it up. So they're based on events and so forth. When people do come visit, the bar and grill is open, and we have we limit it to passing out bottles of water. We have little bottles of water that have a custom label on it and everything. We don't want to give somebody, an adult beverage and have them, drive down the road and, run into some telephone pole or something like that. I don't want to be responsible for that. That'll be an international incident. But anyway, no, actually, all of our buildings are pretty much staffed by mannequins. That's right. All of
love
our
it.
civil servants in Molossia are mannequins, and
I
so
love it.
they don't strike. They don't take long breaks or any breaks at all. They don't complain. They're always on the job. They're the best civil servants you can get.
That's amazing. That's it. There's gonna come a time in the very near future where Elon Musk with Tesla is gonna release these Optimus robots. So you might be getting some like real autonomous robots that could be working for you too. There, I'm just saying, just a little
I've
change
seen,
from the mannequins.
I've seen that movie. It doesn't end well.
It does not, and he really chose to make them look exactly like the
I'm
movie too.
crazy 11-year-old robot that's gonna kill me with a freaking paper cutter. No. That's
Oh
not.
man, that's so true. That is so true. We've mentioned war a couple times, the word on here. I'd be remiss not to ask. You're in war. You're in the middle of a couple wars here. Well, I guess just one is still
Just one.
active.
Yeah, we are at war with the nation of East Germany right now and probably forever. And this is the point where I usually have to gauge the crowd when I'm telling this story to make sure that they know what East Germany is. Because as the crowd gets younger when they visit Molossia, they've never known anything but a unified East and West Germany. They're like, huh? And so I usually say at one point, Germany was divided into thirds, and the eastern third was a communist nation, along with all the other nations to the east of it. They were all part of the Soviet bloc, and I was stationed in then West Germany back in 1983 with the United States Army. And as armies do, they would tend to get us up in the middle of the night to jump in our tanks and go get ready to repel the communist horde. I have to say that word carefully because I get some weird looks when I say it fast. Horde. With a D. Anyway, so anyway,
HORD, guys. HORD.
fortunately, the communist horde never rolled across the border, thank goodness. But at that time, I was Prime Minister of Molossia, back when it was known as Volstein. And so I declared war on the nearest East Bloc country, which was East Germany, because I was tired of being woken up in the middle of the night. And then that war declaration for probably 20-something years and rediscovered it in the archives of the Ministry of the Closet. And I laughed to myself, East Germany long gone, until I discovered, dum dum dum, that East Germany still exists in the form of a tiny island off the coast of Cuba, which was given to East by Fidel Castro in 1973. And it was that gift, if you will, of territory to East Germany was not addressed in the unification treaty between East and West when in 1991, when East Germany just became part of Germany. And so that remains the only existing piece of the nation of East Germany, a little teeny island off the coast of Cuba. Now it's
I gotta tell
uninhabited
you.
except for marine iguanas, and marine iguanas just don't care. You know, they just want to go like that. And so, because it's uninhabited, there is no one with whom to arrange peace. And so, our war with East Germany continues against an uninhabited island off the coast of Cuba, probably forever.
That's great.
That's
That's
wild.
great. I mean, do you think that maybe you're gonna go lay claim to it, plant
Yeah.
the flag?
You could take over
You know,
today.
at some point, the U.S. with their wonky rules, because we have to pass through that country to get to Cuba, so
Oh,
they
it's
will
true. Yeah.
maybe allow us to go travel there. And yes, maybe we can arrange peace with the iguana or something. I'm not really sure how we're going to work that out. But in the meantime, because it's been going on for so long, it's become a part of our culture. So we're not really actually seeking peace. I mean, if something goes wrong, you know, a pipe breaks, it's probably those East Germans, you know, they're everywhere. We actually had some
War
guys
with the iguanas.
in German uniforms off of eBay, and during the entire tour when they visited Molossia, they were sneaking around behind the buildings, like
No way.
like they were spies. Once yeah, like
That's
they were.
amazing.
That's
amazing.
hilarious. I love
I
it.
love
Hey,
it.
you know what? Very successful war in terms of casualties. I imagine it would be at zero.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
it's
the most
zero.
peaceful war
But
ever.
we do sell. Want to support the war effort? We sell war bonds. So you know.
Now, what about Mustachistan?
All right, so Mustachistan, a little bit longer story. No, not really. So micronations are generally created by teenage boys, occasionally a teenage girl, but mostly teenage boys. And once they start that micronation, they are obsessed with the idea of going to war with somebody else. I do not understand this obsession, but it's really a thing. And in fact, I've got a guy that declared war on me this morning, and then reminded me about it around lunchtime. You know, hey, we're at war. That's a delete. I'm not going to deal with you anyway. So, because micronational war can't exist, you know, if you're some kid, you know, in your bedroom, you know, tapping away on your computer, you're not like invading Molossia. You're not coming up the driveway, you know, with rifle in hand. Thank goodness, because imagine how horrible that would be. So, micronational war as a thing does not exist, in spite of the imagination of a zillion teenage boys. And I said to myself one day, though, what would it look like if it could exist? And so I worked with a coworker. I work outside Molossia in a job that shall not be named, and worked with a coworker, and he became Sultan Ali Oxenfree of the nation of Mustachistan. And so I basically helped him create his country for the sole and solitary purpose of going to war with him and winning. And that's exactly what we did, just to kind of explore how would war look. Here's some propaganda. Here's the reason that we went to war, that kind of thing. And now here's some battles, which we filmed as newsreels and so forth. And it was actually a lot of fun. It really was. That was so long ago. Wow, that's almost 20 years ago. 19 years ago. Good gracious, time flies. Anyway, so that was the Mustachistan War. Was really to poke fun at the idea of micronational war and just to explore, like we do with everything else involving countries, what a war might look like. And there it is.
Amazing. I was reading his name, Sultan Ali Oxenfree, on your website, and I didn't say it out loud. I'm just reading it, and it's just like I didn't process it like that. And now, as you're saying, I'm like, oh my god! If I just said this out loud or tried to say it, hello, I
We
love it.
have
I love the humor in it.
of inside jokes here in Molossia. All of our buildings.
I'm starting to see
Oh, yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And going back to East Germany, I mean, you can see that that's a satire of war. I mean, it was a thing. It did that. It continues to exist as a satire of war. We have an ongoing war with a country that doesn't exist. It's just about as dumb as any other war that happens out there. But we literally have nobody to negotiate with. Most people in real wars do. But anyway, yes. So yes, jokes here. Um, One of the ones that is enjoyable is all of the buildings in Red Square. Again, that's our town square where everything is. They all have unusual numbers. Like the post office, the address is that the right post office? Yeah, the address is 10/6. Does that sound familiar at all? 10/6.
10/6. What am I
Yes.
For
missing?
me.
hmm It's the price on the hat of the Mad Hatter.
Oh, okay.
Oh my
Okay.
God!
Okay.
In, under,
Wow,
yes.
I would have not
I
guessed that.
like it.
No,
Okay, so here's an easier one. The Bank of Molossia, the address is 9 3/4.
you might be dating us
No
here a
Harry
little bit.
Potter fans here. Platform,
No,
Oh, okay. Now
you know,
that you say it, yes.
you did.
Yeah. Listen,
I was
So
just in Harry Potter
they
World
don't have
too, but
anything. They have nothing to do with the buildings themselves. But at that point, sure, I will usually go into my office, have people they can take a picture of the president behind his desk and everything. And the first lady is out with the rest of the folks that aren't in there, and she's quizzing him on, one. My favorite one though is 33 and a third. Do you know what that is? 33 and a third. It's a
I
little
mean,
older too.
I,
Sorry.
I know this
It-
from Scott Steiner, the pro
okay.
wrestler, who tried
Uh-huh.
to do math, and he just they call it Steiner math, and he just added a bunch of numbers, and it's like he basically added a bunch of numbers up to 150. It's like, and that means you got a 33 and a third percent chance of beating me, and it was just the craziest and that was the hook. And so now in pro wrestling, you always see oh yeah, you got a 33 and a third chance. That's where it goes for my mind, but I'm
But
assuming
that's
that's not the
not
same
it.
thing.
That's actually the speed that a long play record goes around. 33 and a third
Really?
per minute. And I put that address on my office because Molossia is a dictatorship. I have the sort of the look of a Central American dictator going on here. And that was a joke that somebody a long time ago is those countries have 33 and a third revolutions per minute. Back,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool.
So anyway,
That's awesome. That's awesome. Are you a history buff? Did you know a lot of this stuff as you kind of came up with it, or were you kind of doing some research or saw something and thought it would be
yes,
a nice Easter egg?
but I've also been around a long time. I'm 62. So,
Oh, that's not that long, but fair.
yeah. So, I mean, I was definitely there when people played long play records because they didn't have anything else.
Right.
And 45. So,
Sure.
yeah. So,
45s I remember. Yeah, my father was
45 is
big
the
on
smaller
those. We
ones,
had
right?
baskets.
Long play is what,
yeah, we have a
78?
we have a whole cookie canister full of them here for our one record player.
That's cool. That's really cool. All right. I've got a question. I don't want this to be gloomy because we've been having fun.
Okay.
But as the proclaimed leader here of Molossia, what do you hope the legacy of your nation will be? And is there a contingency plan or I don't want to say succession plan? Yeah, maybe that's the right word. Is that the right word? Succession plan. What happens when you decide that you no longer want to rule, you want to step down, or maybe you're just not capable of running a country anymore? Do you have a plan for what comes next?
Yes and no. I mean, the first lady's a bit younger than me, and so she's my designated successor as the president. I am also a realist, and I know that when the leader of a micronation no longer leads that micronation, it basically ceases to exist. I would love to have this country go on long past me. I am a student of history enough to know that all countries, every country, that includes the U.S., evolve over time. And the Roman Empire was around for how long was that? 2,000 years, something along that line, whatever it was. And it continued to be what it was in different formats and so forth. The same will go for the U.S., and hopefully the same will go for Molossia. I would love to see Molossia somewhere down the road actually be the dominant nation here in this whole area when things maybe don't go so well in the future for United States. So, but no, I'd love to see it stick around for as long as possible. Um, I myself have the plan to continue it as long as I possibly can, and then the first lady would be my successor, and then we have our law enforcement person. That's our chief constable. She's 21 now, and somewhere down the road, she might even take over the country, and so forth, and just keep it going. It probably won't be what it looks like now. First lady already said she wants to change the flag to purple and pink or something like that, but I'll be dead, so I won't.
Well, and I think a lot of your teachings too that you were telling us about earlier, if nothing else, it lives on through the legacy of what you've now, or your legacy lives on through the teachings that you've sort of passed on to these young students who are all going to be creating their own micronations as a project. Like, how cool is that to think that maybe one of them out of the whole batch of them decides to kind of continue this going on as a project? And yeah, it's just, it's especially with like the way that the digital, I mean, Facebook teetered with a little bit and it died off, but like the metaverse, but you've got all these like online worlds. My kids are huge in like Minecraft and Roblox, and they create these little towns and stuff. There's kids that are way better at it. My kids are very young and very rudimentary at it. But the idea that they can now take these, their own ideas, and maybe make it a cross between a digital realm, a digital land, and here, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Actually, I think well, Molossia does have that. At least we'll have that legacy because of social media and so forth. I mean, the videos that have been made about Molossia, and they're not going to go away for long. We all know that nothing goes away from
mhm.
social.
Not on the
Sometimes
internet.
the
Nope.
hard way.
Good or
Yeah,
bad.
but
Um,
yeah, I hope at the very least that legacy. I really do hope that the nation continues on in some form or another long after I'm gone. I don't know if that will in fact be the case, but who knows what the world might bring. Change is the one constant. So
Very true.
it'd be
Very
just
true.
about anything.
very well said.
You
Very
said
well
something
said.
earlier that kind of made me think of something I was thinking about earlier and forgot because again, not that bright here. But how you mentioned when things don't go so well, right, for other countries, somebody's overheating and shutting down. Talk to you later, Shane. In any event, how, being the ruler of your own nation, do you pay attention to American politics and world politics, or
Oh,
is that kind of the beauty
oh
of
yeah.
running your own nation? Of, hey, I don't really got to have to worry about it because I'm doing my own thing.
Well, no, we don't have that kind of independent sovereignty because we're so small. So we can't ignore what goes on over the border
Sure.
from us. That's just a survival tactic, if nothing else. You got to know. I mean, the United States is huge, and they could just go and crush us
Right.
instantly. I mean, it wouldn't take more than a couple of police cars in the driveway, and we'd know we'd have to, really scale it back. Of course, we're not doing anything to cause that, but
Right.
at any rate, uh, so no, I mean, we have to be aware of what's going on, and in the U.S. and in the world,
Right.
and try to stay connected. I mean, we obviously reach out to the U.S. government and have a couple of times just to try and have a positive dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
If they haven't really dialogued with us except for that one Obama Christmas card, but that's all right. I mean, that means that they don't think we're a problem,
Right.
and that's also all right.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of the beauty of what you're doing, right? You had a dream, you had a vision, and
Mm-hmm.
the simple fact that they are leaving you alone means that you can, in fact, then live out that dream and that vision, and that's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Oh, I'm running out of battery here.
No worries, my friend. No worries, my friend. We've got overheating cameras. We've got batteries running out.
Yeah, things are going to hell all around us. It's terrible.
No,
It's a
no,
disaster.
no, not a disaster at all, my friend. This has been very, very entertaining, and again, I just think that you know, and we've mentioned it a bunch already throughout the episode, but I think for me, I don't want to speak for anybody else, but what I take away from what you have done is, it might not be possible or extremely difficult to really create your own nation and have it flourish and grow and to build a population and infrastructure and things of that nature. I mean, realistically, right, like that's an incredibly almost insurmountable task, right? But it's not impossible to live your life the way that you want to live it. And it's not easy. It's not easy to do, okay? Within the society that we live in, times are very different now. Social media and the internet has made the world a much smaller place. And so it's not an easy thing to do. It's much easier said than done. But the influence that I think that you have exposed the world to is the fact that you can still hold true and steadfast to your beliefs and what you believe in. And even if you just do that in your own home, right? You can declare your own
Right.
home a micronation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. And you can still make a difference. We've made a difference. We've made a difference in so many people's lives that have been impacted by just interacting with Molossia, and seeing how countries work and so forth. So, I mean, we can make a difference in that little tiny way. We're doing great things here. Then I'm
Yeah,
happy.
absolutely, my friend. So, what advice would you give to the next young person that wants to begin their own micronation, or maybe it's that person that doesn't necessarily want to begin their own micronation, but they're frustrated with the way things are going on within the current nation that they live in?
Sure, absolutely. Well, I think just it's two different things, but they could come together at some point. If they want to start their own country, I mean, 100% definitely do that. It is it's wonderful. And again, with the layers things, there's so much that you can do with the idea of having your own nation. And then secondarily, like I said a couple times now, I mean, you can go out and you can make a change in your, I guess, real world beyond the micronational concept. You can go out there and you can be a part of your city government and everything. You can make things better just by maybe thinking outside the box a little bit. I think too often folks don't do that, and that's the essence of micronations
Yeah,
is thinking outside the box. So, yeah, I mean, you can make the world a better place. Just start small.
absolutely. Think outside the box and then have the balls to do it. Right. Think outside the box, then
Absolutely,
have some
100%.
balls. Go get it done.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Mhm.
Putting it brashly.
I'm a brash kind of guy.
All right,
gotta-
it's all good.
I got to tell you, I think I might have just had a declared attack by East Germany as I saw an iguana outside my window and my camera overheated, my computer shut down, something went out with my power. It's all back. I might
We
have
saw
scared
that.
it away, but
I had to leave, but that's okay. It's all right.
no,
But
no.
I am losing power on my device here, so I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap it up.
That, you know what, I was going to take us home anyway before mine kicked off. I wanted to just
Mm-hmm.
ask you, where could our friends and family, our followers out there find you on the internet if they wanted to stop by or just reach out?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if they want to know more about Molossia, they can just visit our website at molossia.org, molossia.org. And, I always respond to emails. So if they want to ask questions or get involved or do their own thing or whatever, shoot me an email. And I will be very happy. I always respond. I never ignore emails. So, well, there's a couple I have, but let's not go there. And
Well, listen, we very much appreciate the time. President Kevin Baugh here of Molossia. We will add in the web address into our show notes right below. So everyone, if you can catch that,
We lost
put that
Shane.
below.
I will bring us home, and then Shane can edit this out because I'm sure he's gonna like
now
what
I
he
can't
would have
hear
to
you.
say.
You can't hear me?
I got you now, buddy. You're back. Bring us home, baby.
Oh,
Okay.
I was here. Tim, I think we lost you, buddy. It wasn't me. See, this is what happens every once in a
Goddamn
while.
East
You mess
Germany.
with East Germany, and they send all this stuff over there. Nevertheless, just remember to like and subscribe and follow Molossia at molossia.org. Again, in the show notes. Until next time, everybody, we appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, guys.